So first of all, defining a breakaway. Joe, can you give us basically what a breakaway is if people don't know?
It's a group of riders that are separated off the front of the peloton. So they've broken away from a bunch.
Yeah. So this is common to see in all sorts of road racing. The interesting thing is if riders just if a separation happens, in other words, would you guys not call it a breakaway if just simply like the pack or people keep riding that are faster than you and then all the rest of you are slower and you just kind of fade off? What defines a break?
That's happened before.
It's usually at like the front of the race, obviously. Take, for instance, today, Pete and Kevin, we're just rolling steady. All of a sudden, Pete just comes by us a lot faster than us, goes off the front.
I wasn't even working very hard.
And Kevin bridges up to him. So now we got two guys in front of the peloton, in the front of the group, in front of the team. And then we're just sitting on the front, and I was like, this gap's getting bigger and bigger. And so we pick up the pace, and it was like, they're still out there. So then we ended up having to go single file to try to catch these guys that had now 10 seconds on us. So
happy to hear that.
Yeah, we were working hard, so at least it felt like we were doing something.
So it's something that it's like you're taking initiative as a racer to get away from the field, right? That's what that's like a crucial part of a breakaway, you'd say. Mm-hmm. So when do you choose to break away? I guess that's a very loaded question because there's plenty of different things. But is there a specific time where you really look like, yeah, I like to start a breakaway at this point, whether it's something happens in the race or relatively speaking to the beginning or end of the race?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, like I want to make the breakaway at the hardest possible time, like during the race, like when it's single file and like super strung out and it's super hard. Like the last thing someone wants to do is attack, right?
Yeah.
Make it even harder. So if you're hurting, everyone else is hurting, and I feel like that's the time to hit it. And like people just get demoralized if like you're hurting and then someone attacks and goes faster. It's just like, oh god.
How do you do that though? Because like I'm usually the guy that's in the single file line just dying. What do you guys do? Or are there any tricks or any specific tips that you could give to somebody in that single file situation to come around everyone?
I mean, especially if there's another breakaway up the road and everyone's single file to try to bring back the breakaway. Everyone seems to get like excited and calm down when the breakaway is coming back. So they're like, oh, like it eases up just a little bit. So then you have that momentum. People usually slow down, but if you keep that momentum, you can get off the front easier when a breakaway is getting brought back.
So you just try to carry momentum through.
Yeah, and I would say the other thing is make someone else do the hard work of getting the breakaway started or chasing back the breakaway. If you can not do the initial part of the breakaway, all the better, right? That's the hardest part. Yeah. That's where all the energy happens.
Ideally, you want to be like second or third guy.
Yeah. Follow the wheels instead of like making the break. But I mean, if you are that super strong guy, then go for it. Someone's got to do it. But it's that initial gap that you really need to get.
If you're looking for that, like, are you looking throughout the race for the sort of rider that looks eager, that would make that sort of move, and are you looking to attach to their wheel? Or are you verbally encouraging somebody to make that move? Like, how do you try to not be the first person to make that move?
I think it's paying attention, right? Like, if you're keeping your eye on everybody who's racing, you kind of know there's usually people who like to ride breakaways and people who don't like to ride breakaways. So if you pay attention to the people who do like to ride breakaways and paying attention to what they're doing, you have a better chance of jumping on and following wheels and getting the free ride or the least lighter ride.
So I guess that kind of covers like the when you would want to break. When are bad times to break away?
First lap.
Yeah, from the gun. Don't do that.
When you're going as fast as you can and you can't really like go that much faster. If the bunch is doing 60 and you're doing 62 like kilometers, kilometers. I'm a metric guy, but you're not going to get a very big gap. You're going to get a few meters off the front and then you're going to run out of energy because you got to go too hard and it's not sustainable.
So is there something, how do you manage that going too hard or not too hard?
Kevin, you should take this one.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, all of us have power meters, and we all know what our threshold is. So we know when we get a gap, we only can keep it at a certain wattage for so long before we blow. Right. So everyone here knows exactly what they can hold it at for how long. So I mean, you're going to be on the line, just like right there on the edge to keep it going. But I'd say that's the biggest thing is power meter. But a lot of the races we do are at twilight, so maybe we don't have the backlight on. But I think we're all like seasoned at these races, so we know by feel, I think, how hard we can go and for how long.
So it's really, like, I assume you guys aren't saying, like, I know that if I initiate a breakaway, I can only ride at 600 watts or something like that. Or do you ever use that sort of a thing to keep a track, or is it really you're going off feel, right?
Yeah, with that breakaway we were in today, that's the same thing. It was the same thing. We were just rotating through, and it got progressively harder and harder until you're kind of riding that edge, and you know that if you do anything extra, you won't be in the breakaway anymore. And so you kind of get closer and closer to your limit, and then ride the limit, and that's kind of the key. As long as you're staying just behind where you can sustain that power, but it should be pretty much as hard as you can go if you want a chance of success.
So one of the problems that I have is that I'll initiate a break and I'll go and I just push, it seems like too hard. And then I get into a situation where whether I'm trying to bridge up to riders up the road, or I've initiated something and I'm solo, or there's somebody else on my wheel, I just can't push too hard. I mean, do you guys still make that mistake, or is that just an amateur deal?
No, yeah, I mean, like, definitely. Like,
Okay, cool.
you're in the moment and you're just getting excited and you're in the breakaway, right? I mean, that's where we want to be. So, like, take for example today, after we caught these guys, then 3 of us went over to the top of them and made another breakaway. And so we were all rotating really well. And then, like, I was hurting, like, really, really hurting. So, like, you also want to look around and see where the field is. So, like, just when I rotated off, I turned around and I see the rest of the guys about 10 seconds back, but they're all rotating really hard. I was like, we're not going to stay away from them. So I sat up and went back. The other 2 just killed themselves, and then we caught them, a mile later. So, I mean, then I was fresh to go hard over the top of them again. So
it still happens at your guys' level.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I blow myself out the back a lot.
Is there anything that you guys do to, like, how do you measure that, or how do you avoid that in a race situation? How do you make sure that you don't go too hard like that? I mean, we talked about not using power limits and kind of listening to your body, but is there anything that you've done to govern that?
It's really just a judgment of perceived exertion. But I mean, you can definitely play games with the people that you're in the breakaway with, pretend that you're hurting, pretend that you can't pull through as fast as maybe you should. And really concentrate on, not going over that limit.
Yeah. So when we talk about breakaways, they can be solo moves, or you can have other riders with you. I assume that you guys always want to have other people with you rather than solo.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah, no one likes a solo move.
Yeah.
Because I see a lot of people just initiate a solo move, and then they're stuck out there on their own, and people let them dangle, and then they end up cooking themselves, something like that.
Yeah, a solo move is a sure way not to win, pretty much.
You're really running thin odds, right?
But it could be the start of a good breakaway.
Yeah,
if you are, I mean, one of the hardest parts is actually getting off the front to start with and being able to get that initial gap. So if you are up the road and a group of 3 or 4 come up to you, then you could have a race-winning breakaway. But if you're out there for 5 laps, 10 laps, and no one's coming up and the field's just sitting right at that same gap, it's probably time to go back, call it.
Stop crushing yourself.
Yeah.
At that time, do you just stop pedaling and coast your way through, or just soft pedal really softly, or are you still trying to look like you're trying? What are you guys looking to do when you basically throw the white flag like that?
I think you want to keep soft pedaling just in case someone jumps across, but like Connor said earlier, like, you have to be aware of where the peloton is, because if you just start soft pedaling and not looking around, they're going to blow right by you. So you got to be ready and keep looking behind you to see where they're at, so you can accelerate again to stay at the front of the race. Because you don't want to go off the front to the back of the race and try to make yourself back to the front. Like, you got to accelerate once they come by or are coming towards you.
Yeah, take advantage of that position you won't find yourself in, right?
Yeah, up the front.
Yeah.
Right.